Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back to the Art of Living Well podcast. We are so excited to have this conversation today. Hopefully, you have all had an amazing holiday season, and we are ready to kick off 2025 with a bang. And our Vitality Reboot is starting in 5 days on January 5th, and we are so excited.
And it's not too late to join. So if you live locally, plenty of time to pick up a kit. But if you don't, you could sign up today and just start a couple days later, because we would love to have you join. And really,
and that's
we
not
want
a big
this.
Deal.
No, and we always have people starting at different times. Some people before, some people after. So, do this anytime in January that works for you. We will be there to support you every step of the way.
And as we kick off the year, this is one of our very favorite episodes to do, right? To talk about. We love talking about what the new health and wellness trends will be for 25. And some of them are actually pretty similar to 2024, but there's a little slant on all of them, right?
Well, especially I think we've seen with AI. And Marnie, you and I have been a little more in touch with this new way of working and living recently. I mean, now even if you Google something, the first thing that pops up comes from AI, right? And so I think it's just that personalized wellness plan, which has been, like you said, the last couple of years more focused, just like getting lab testing. We always say like test, don't guess. And so it's using AI and wearables in particular to figure out what your body needs, which is likely different than people living in your house or your friends or your neighbors.
And we're always, huge proponents of tuning into yourself because you also know what your body needs. But then the AI can kind of give you that add-on info, right? That like the Aura Ring, for example, which if you're on YouTube, you can see here, I wear
mine's
it.
charging right now.
But the Aura Ring I've been wearing for almost a year now, and I committed to wearing it for a year, and then I was planning to pass it on to someone else, and I'm not quite done with it yet. So I feel like I'm still getting data that is important to me, and I'm trying to actively make changes. So for example, HRV, which is heart rate variability, that is a number that I want to be higher. And so my Aura Ring is telling me kind of like what my HRV number is, and then also what my stress load is like during the day. And I can see that like at night, I'm not particularly stressed, but during the day, my stress loads are higher than I want them to be. So then what am I doing to actively try and make that better for myself? So that's the kind of information I'm getting.
Right. And I think with all those trackables, those wearable devices, they're great and they're good for a period of time. And it depends on, how you create and form new habits. Ultimately, like we talk about all the time on this podcast, it's following your intuition, your gut, and learning to, sit quiet and figure out what you yourself needs. Because I truly believe that you are your best teacher, if you will. You're the only person that really knows your body and your mind and what you need. That said, a lot of times this information is not otherwise available without a tracking device. So using something like whether it's a year or a few months or whatever is really helpful. And I found that younger generations are getting into this more now as well. Like my son came home from college at the end of his first year and wanted a Whoop. And now he for Christmas asked for a new Whoop band because he wants, he's using it all the time. And, is he making different choices based on what it tells him, as far as his readiness or whatever it does the next day? Maybe, but that's pretty cool at a younger age to be that in tune with your sleep even.
And the first step is getting the information, right? So the fact that he wants the information, even if it takes him a year to do something about it, he has the information. So with the Whoop, is there an actual strap that goes around your chest, or is there a more updated
you wear it,
one?
No, you wear it on your wrist. You've probably seen a lot of people wearing them, and now they have different colored bands and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And then it syncs with your phone. I'm not I haven't used one myself.
People love the Whoop though. I'm so used to the Aura Ring, but I know people love that Whoop strap.
Yeah.
bracelet, whatever it is. I think it originated as a strap. The other thing, like people are doing a lot of DNA testing and a lot of, biological age testing. So, what is biological age? There's your chronicle age, right? And your biological age, and your chronicle age is like, I'm 50. How old am I? I'm 51. But chronologically, maybe I'm 45 or something. So you can do a test that will actually tell you where your body is, even though that may not match up with your chronological age. And hopefully it is younger than your biological age.
Yeah. And I know, I actually have that test up in my bathroom right now to do. And I know you've done it, Marnie, and you've completed Dr. Cabral's course where you learned a lot about that. I'm going to be starting the course shortly after this episode drops. But that can be a motivating factor. If you get that back and your chronological age is 50 and this test says you're 60 and you're like, well, I want to.
It's scary, right?
It's scary. And so that could motivate you, give you a little kick in the pants to like make some changes. This is all like just information to have. And it's helpful to get it if you are ready or need a little bit of like motivation or some proof, if you will, that maybe you're not headed on the path that you really want to be on.
And we've both done DNA testing as well. That can tell you certain genes that you have, which could lead to potential conditions, and or how you methylate different things. There's all different kinds of information you can get from DNA testing. And that doesn't mean that you're going to get so-and-so thing. It just means that maybe you have a higher, you have the gene for it. So depending on the way you live your lifestyle, you may or may not have a more likelihood of having that.
Well, it's epigenetics, condition. Right?
Yes.
And it's also like your environment and your lifestyle are contributing. Yeah. So it's like getting this information and doing these tests can be really powerful if it's going to help you take that next step. And
we can do the biological age test for you. Yeah. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to us. And we're happy to refer you to DNA testing and any other questions that you may have around this. But we're going to see a lot more of this in 25.
Yes. And I think moving on from there, mental health continues to be such a hot topic. I think it's really what was highlighted back in 2020, along with a couple of other of these trends that we're seeing. And still really at the forefront, people are talking a lot more, which is great. There's more resources out there. But even just like from a mental health standpoint, and Marnie, you and I, we just interviewed someone for the second time yesterday. So it's Rudy Nassif, and he's the founder of Viva Rays. And even something as getting sunlight and being really tuned into your circadian rhythm and getting the morning sun and the evening sun is something that can play a huge role on your hormones, regulating them, making sure your body is producing the right hormones at the right time, which can really help with your dopamine. It's your mood. It helps with depression, with your energy, your focus, so many things. And it's sunlight. And by the way, that's free. You can just walk outside your door. You may need a really good coat and hat this time of year, but otherwise it's free.
And, Stephanie, I think you made this analogy the other day, but it's literally like our battery. Like It is the human battery for us. You get that sunlight on you and you will feel energized. Like, how can you not? Yeah. And Rudy made the point that even if it's not sunny outside and blue skies, going outside in that light, you're getting so much more light than any kind of artificial light that you would get indoors.
Like those sunlight lamps that people have. It's not going to work.
You're going to be better off just going outside.
Right. Save your money for the hat or the coat you
need. Even if it's not sunny out.
Right.
And also about mental health, I just want to mention that this is not a stigma. Like seeking therapy, if you need therapy or alternative health modalities, energy healing, Reiki, like whatever kind of healing you feel like you need, this should not be stigmatized. And so many people feel like they're a failure because they're seeking help. And I I think they should be applauded for seeking help. And there are
100%.
so many mental health conditions flying around our world right now. So anything we can do to help ourselves, by all means, do it.
And I think employers, one of the big things that I'm seeing quite a bit that I think is fantastic is that employers are recognizing this and they're providing the benefits to their employees for free. And I don't even think I've mentioned this on the podcast, but I've been doing health coaching through Spring Health, which is an organization that provides mental health benefits. So it's therapists, health and wellness coaches, parent coaches, career coaches, different types of coaches to as a benefit so that companies can provide it to their employees. And employees get different number of sessions per year based on what their employer picks. So I've just seen the huge benefits, and the people I'm coaching are so thankful and grateful to their employers for providing these sessions. And a lot of them are seeing therapists and me at the same time. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful. It's really helping people get unstuck. It's going to help the employer ultimately because their employees are going to be more productive and they're going to be healthier, mentally and physically. So I just think, if you have an employer and you're not sure what your benefits are, a lot of people don't even realize that they have these benefits offered. Like, reach out to your employer and ask about it.
Yeah. So I applaud the employers that are making that a priority, because when everybody's happier, they're going to work better. They're going to work more efficiently.
And just be able to contribute to society in general,
Yes.
regardless of whether they're still working for you a year or two from now.
I'm thinking about it from an employer's perspective, where maybe they only care about the bottom line. I hope that's not true.
Yeah.
But anyway, hopefully they care about their people.
Right.
So changing gears a little bit, we have been hearing so much about women's health, and it's so amazing to have that on the radar, right? Because for so many years, women's health was not studied. It wasn't talked about. Menopause was like all hush and quiet, I guess, when we were kids. I feel like I didn't grow up that way, but I'm hearing that a lot of people did grow up that way. And now all of a sudden we have doctors focusing on women's health, and we have all kinds of people talking about perimenopause and hormone health, and just like how women's needs are very different from men's needs, and our bodies are different and our hormones are different. And how can we tailor our lifestyles to fit our needs?
Right. And be unapologetic about it and accept the fact that we're going to go through these phases and we need different support along the way, and that you can talk about it. Like, I feel like many more women and just in our friends groups are talking about it, but there's lots of different products out there and resources and companies that are formed very specific around women's health. And, just talking about hormone replacement therapy, that works for a lot of people. And for a while it was very much taboo. And there were, I think, some studies out there that were subsequently debunked is the word I'm looking for, which is good. And products out there. And, Marnie and I are both integrative health practitioners. And for several years now, we are been able to run at-home lab testing that tests your hormones. And I will tell you, there are some doctors and OBs in the normal course that are not going to test these metrics.
Like most.
Right? So if you're not going to see a doctor for another 6 to 12 months and you want those levels tested, reach out to us. We schedule consultations so that you can understand the process and the different types of tests and markers, but we can run all those hormones. And then you can figure out what you need and what supplements you need, and maybe what food and lifestyle choices that you could incorporate based on your actual hormone levels. So there's a lot but that's one area where I like testing is really important.
Right. Because I do hear a lot of women just saying that they're gaining all this weight in their midsection.
Yeah, the
menopause. And they're just saying, oh, it's menopause. But let's really find out what's going on. Let's not, there's going to be some truth to hormone levels changing and aging and all of that. Right. But let's really hone in on what's happening in your body specifically, instead of, oh, my friend is doing this, so I'm going to do that too.
Right. And recognize this is for a short period of time and there may be some small tweaks to make. Yes, you may need to change your diet a little bit, but these are habits that you can incorporate into your life. And a lot of these symptoms can be at least lessened, if not completely gone away. So let's embrace that period of our life. And as women, like this aging, part of our lives, there's so much about like the anti-aging and we're so focused on our physical health, but feeling good about ourselves is really ultimately what we're here for, to support you on this podcast. So,
well, and I just want to mention one more thing in women's health, so I have been weight training probably since I was in high school. I was a gymnast, and then it was just part of my routine pretty much from that point on. But we are hearing so much today about women in their midlife and weight training and how important it is for bone health. And so you're not going to, have osteoporosis and all, so you have your posture's up and you're not all curved and bent over when you're older. And we can't say this enough. It is so important. I know a lot of women where their main goal is to be skinny. We want to be strong, right? We want to be strong when we're 80. We don't want to fall and break our hip. We want our hips to be mobile. And so I think the continual focus and hearing about women and strength training is just going to also be really big in 25. And if you don't know where you stand, go get a DEXA scan. Your doctor should. If you're, I think probably 40 and up, your doctor will give you a DEXA scan if you ask for it.
Yep. For your bone health. Absolutely. Okay. So let's move on to sustainability and wellness, which we've talked a lot about sustainability on this podcast. And I'm really happy to see this as something that's going to be on the forefront, even, growing more so into 2025. Just like regenerative farming, we've had a couple of farmers on this podcast over the years. I mean, Zach Bush was also on and he talked a lot about it. He's got that Farmers Footprint organization, and just really being mindful of how your food is grown. And one of the easiest ways to do this is, reach out, research locally. Where are the regenerative farmers near me? Marnie and I both have access to farmers where we can get eggs that are organic and they're pasture raised and they're truly like running wild, right? They're not,
and they're
cages.
Delicious. Like you can,
and they're bright yellow,
difference.
like the yolk.
I mean, when I eat an egg from the store now, I'm like, oh,
I know.
Like it's kind of disappointing.
I actually get sad if I have to buy either milk or eggs at the store, which I rarely have to do anymore, but it like kind of breaks my heart. And nothing against the food at the store. We're just, when you know a farmer and you have a relationship with them too, and you physically know them and see them, you're like, you want to support them, right? And you know their farming practices and they care so much. And my mother-in-law was actually in town over Thanksgiving and we were talking about raw milk because that's something I don't actually drink much milk, but for my kids that do. So, and I helped her find in Sarasota where she lives, a local farmer, like a farmer's marketplace, and they have eggs and they have some meat and they have raw milk and all these things. And so you just have to do a little bit of research and you may have to drive 15 minutes, out of your way, but the quality of the food that you're putting in your body is so important. And I always say it's like an insurance policy for me. Like I know some of these things may cost a little bit more money now, but trust me, if you eat out less and you take care of yourself, it's going to pay dividends. Like not only are you going to feel better today, but you're going to age really well. I believe that anyway.
I believe it also. And, we have had on a couple experts and farmers that are actually practicing regenerative farming. If that's not something that you know much about, we will link those episodes up in the show notes.
Yes.
A big buzzword right now is longevity, right? Longevity and aging. And I don't think it's just because we're in that age range that we're more tuned into it. With Peter Attia's book,
yes,
every Outlive, I think everybody is talking about longevity. I took high performance health. You're taking high performance health, which is the course where we will be guiding people on how to live to be 100.
Yeah.
And what are
Live
the steps
well.
you need to take so you can have a long, healthy, productive life.
Mhm.
And so we're just going to hear a lot more about longevity in 25. And, we're not just talking about physical longevity, but also mental longevity. So cognitively, what can we do to, keep our brain healthy so that, we're not declining into like Alzheimer's and dementia and some of these diseases that we're hearing about so much.
That are really scary. And I think a lot of we probably have friends and people in our age group whose parents are starting to suffer with some of these, or even young. I mean, unfortunately, it's even happening around our age group as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just some of the things that you can do to preventatively help with this. And the one thing I just want to mention is even like for those people that are in maybe approaching retirement or getting close to retirement and you've worked your whole life, like finding a hobby or a couple of hobbies now before you actually get to retirement where you're still going to be utilizing your brain and like the memory and the focus, but then also like building community and having, maybe it's people you play pickleball with, right? Or you play games with and you meet on a regular basis so that you have community and the mental stimulation and physical movement. Like start doing those now. If you don't have things that you truly enjoy that bring you joy, then work on that before you retire. And then you're just like, oh my gosh, now what do I do with all my time? And it gets to be a little harder. And then you're going through that period of like kind of withdrawal from the job that you potentially have had for decades.
And I think you especially see this. I mean, I don't want to generalize, but with a lot of men who have been very career focused their whole lives, maybe their social has been all in their work environment. And then all of a sudden you're retired and you're like, oh my gosh, now what do I do? And how do I keep my brain interested in things and creative? And you hear about people, that have worked their entire lives and then all of a sudden they're retired and they get sick.
Right. Or they get kind of sad and depressed. And I think that's where even like the focus on men's mental health, and sometimes, not to stereotype again, but sometimes men are less willing to be like vulnerable and open about some of these areas. There's going to be like, I guess, a little bit more focus on that aspect for mental health with men. And, we had interviewed Greg, and his episode's going to be dropping early in the new year. But he has a whole community and business now around midlife men. And it's great. And there's not a lot of people talking and sharing some of the things that he's doing. So
and I actually like read his newsletter and listen to a lot of what he's saying because it really does relate to everybody, not just men. But I love that he's built this community specifically tailored to men because there aren't very many out there right now.
No.
And men need community as much as women do. They may not know it. Mm-hmm. But I feel like once they discover it and are a part of something like that, then they realize like maybe what they've missed out on.
Exactly.
So there's so much, like we could do a whole episode on longevity, but it's very much on our radars. We love working with people on this specifically. So please reach out to us if you have questions. We would love to talk to you. We do our health transformation audits on air. And this is a great opportunity to really think about longevity and have us coach you or ask you the right questions so that you can kind of tune inward and figure out what you want for your own longevity moving forward.
Exactly. And then, I don't know, as we round out this episode, I think a couple more things that are on the horizon, and maybe again, they've been there for the last couple of years, is just like is functional beverages, functional nutrition in general, people being more mindful about what they're putting in their bodies, whether it's sourcing and sustainability, like we talked about with the farming, or being much more prioritizing protein. And we've talked about protein quite a bit on this podcast, and also figuring like out what type of protein works for them and the quality of the protein, getting back to like sourcing local and grass-fed products and regenerative and all that. And just like the beverages, you're seeing a lot more adaptogens in products, like some of the Organifi products that we use, and
which are like functional mushrooms.
yeah. And we've had, the founders or people that work for Organifi, but also for Sigmatic. So there's a lot about functions or functional mushrooms and immunity and stress and brain health and all those things. And you'll see them a lot in different beverages. And also people are taking a pause or being sober curious. And so a lot of these bubbly, non-alcoholic cocktails or drinks also will have functional mushrooms in them and different adaptogens. So you're going to see more of that. And if you're looking for an alternative, especially we're in January, Marnie and I last several years have done dry January or some derivation of that, you'll see a lot more products out there. So if you are curious about it, there are non-alcoholic options out there to try. Just check out, a lot of times Whole Foods and local co-ops and places like that will have good options.
And I just want to shout out to the Organifi adaptogen mushroom beverages, like their gold and their chocolate gold, because I love those products in the winter. And I literally will drink a cup like multiple times a week. And it's so warming and delicious. And it has just like a teeny bit of sweet, but it's like enough to like, I don't really crave anything else. So
yeah, I had one last night. I mean, they're really yummy. It's your alternative to hot cocoa. And it tastes really good too. So,
and it doesn't have all the sugar that hot cocoa has in it.
Right. All of the good stuff and none of the bad stuff.
Yes. So also just want to put on everyone's radar, we hear a lot about the microbiome and gut health and the connection between our brains and our gut and our overall health and wellness in our gut. And I feel like scientists and researchers are really, really diving into the microbiome, and they haven't even scratched the surface, I feel like, on what they're going to find. But every year they figure out a little bit more, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that, there are a lot of supplements out there that are talking about helping with fiber, making fiber in your body and helping you with your digestion and maybe helping you increase your own GLP-1 production levels. So not taking a synthetic shot to do this, but helping your body do this naturally. So we're going to hear a lot more about all of this in 25. And I think something that's really important is to really know what you're taking and try and, we've talked about this before, but make sure that the source of whatever products you're looking into and you're taking is third-party tested and it's high quality. And it's not just, you can't always believe what you see on a label or what your neighbor tells you or what your mom tells you. So be mindful of that.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe that kind of goes in a little bit with ultra processed food awareness, which is nothing new. And of course, we've talked about this 100 times on the podcast, but ultra processed food is being likened to the new tobacco, and it has been growing. And thanks to people like the Food Babe, who
you should
Marnie
all
and I
follow.
Everyone should follow. I'm not literally messaging my husband and my kids stuff from her on social media.
This morning I did too.
Yeah, I said it to John, and again, it's stuff that I've said, but somehow when she's out there, they are petitioning and lobbying. She's meeting with these people and they are running from her because they know like she's calling people out and just the addictive properties and what these companies are doing behind the scenes with their scientists to make the food addictive, targeting children, and it's making people sick. I'll leave it at that. And if you want a great episode, Kelly Means, who we interviewed a couple years ago now, who's now kind of all over the place. We had a fantastic episode with him. He's doing a ton in this space.
And I will just say that a lawsuit is being pulled together right now by the Food Babe and a lot of other people against all of these big food companies like Kellogg's and I think General Mills.
Coca-Cola, General Mills.
Coca-Cola, Post, Pepsi.
All the cereal
Nestle,
companies.
like all of these really large companies. And there's all this stuff that's been coming out about how they actually met with the tobacco companies to figure out how the tobacco companies used scientists and various different things to figure out how to get into the brains of people to make things more addictive. So these food companies wanted that data and information so that they could then make their foods more addictive to the consumer, which
so that you'll keep buying them. I mean, there's a reason why you can't stop eating the crap in the bag, like, and it just sickens me to know that that's their intent.
right. And they know that this food is not good for you.
Right. So, anyway, more to come. We could talk for hours on that topic.
And maybe we should. Do you guys want to hear more on this topic? Like,
yes.
Drop us
I think
a line
it's going to be
huge.
I think it's going to be big this year. I think a lot's coming. And our tips and ideas for you headed into this new year: cook from scratch. And it doesn't matter if you know how to cook or not. I mean, I've learned everything I know in my kitchen by myself. There's certainly plenty of YouTube videos out there if you want to learn something, but just start small, go to the grocery store, buy high quality food, use the environmental working group to, hopefully avoid the dirty dozen, and get your kids involved. Reach out for us if you want ideas or suggestions for recipes, and simple recipes that taste really good, that will nourish your whole body, mind, soul, everything.
Well, I think that having adventures, little mini adventures or travels throughout the year is going to continue to be a trend. This doesn't have to be a whole big thing like we did 29029 this past year. If you can swing doing something big that means something to you, big does not equate to expensive.
Right.
It could be a whole day that you've planned in your community. Whatever it is, just put something on your calendar that it means something to you. It's going to take you out of your regular environment, put you in a different environment that's going to maybe challenge you in a new way, and something you're excited about and maybe even a little scared to do. And actually, as I'm just talking right now, Stephanie and I have been talking about the 12-hour walk. It's a book by Colin O'Brady. This is free. You literally can take a walk. You take a walk for 12 hours, which sounds like a really long time. No cell phone. You can walk out the door of your house. Maybe you bring your cell phone, but it is off the entire time. And you are walking and you are alone with your thoughts for 12 hours. And I'm committed to doing this in 25. I think Stephanie is as well.
I am as well. Now I'm saying it on air. And just to clarify, you're not actually physically walking for 12 hours, but you are not doing anything else. You're walking or you're stopping and
maybe you're stopping and you have a backpack and you eat a sandwich or an apple or whatever it is. Like,
the point is to be alone with your thoughts, disconnected from everyone.
And you are walking some distances. And this is a great way to, take a little mini vacation where you don't even have to really take a vacation, but chances are there's going to be some growth that comes out of that. And I think there's where the trend is, right? Like, maybe our vacations aren't so much about lying on a beach somewhere. They have more meaning than that.
It's like, what do you need in your life? And then seeking that regardless of where it is. And, I think the days, at least for me, of like being on a beach for a week and then, maybe it's drinking more alcohol when you're not normally drinking alcohol, like that is less appealing to me as I age and as I get older. And I definitely want to seek out new experiences regardless of where I am. And it may just be like finding a good, like, local farm to table restaurant somewhere that you're at, like just do something a little bit different. And also I think, and this is like, we've kind of just passed the sort of big gift giving season of the year, but gifting people experiences and having, maybe you do that with someone, with a friend, or find like a local sauna cold plunge place and you gift it to a friend and you both go do it together for their birthday. And then you're with a friend and building community maybe, but you're also doing something that's outside of your comfort zone a little bit. So just some different ideas on ways to incorporate it into your life.
And as we wrap up this conversation, I just want to say that people are still lonely. So when you're grocery shopping or when you're taking a walk, say hello to someone, ask someone how their day is going, make eye contact. I know it's really easy. I'm guilty of this for sure, just getting caught up in my phone when I'm waiting somewhere. And I'm actively trying to like put my phone in my purse or my
Mhm.
pocket and just look around and see who's around me and make eye contact and try and be friendly, because the loneliness epidemic is still happening,
Mhm.
even though we're 5 years out from the pandemic. It's there.
I 100% agree. I've seen this with young people, like people that I'm coaching that are around the country. And I sometimes take for granted the community that I live in, and that if I want to be by myself, I can be. But if I don't, there's plenty of people that I can grab to go do something. And not everyone has that. And I think, Marnie, you're right. I think the same time, every time I'm at the checkout, I think the same thing. And you know what? If you start talking with the person at the checkout, like they want to engage, because I think 90% of the people that go through are just standing there on their phone the whole time.
Right.
And that's lonely for them. Like they're working. Um, so
Yes.
just if there's that one thing, you may be the bright light in someone's day by engaging in a conversation and just asking how they are. How's their day?
And we wish everyone a happy and healthy new year, a wonderful 2025. We hope that you've had a chance to think about what you want out of your year and maybe what some of your priorities are, and your we don't really talk about resolutions, but maybe more like visions for the year. And maybe you have different buckets.
And
Maybe
maybe
you have.
there's one thing that we said that really resonated with you or kind of gave you that pause to think like, that would really help me or propel me a little bit forward with how I want to, live out the next year or decade or whatever. And if that's the case, or for anyone out there, sign up for our health transformation audit, because we'll help you walk through and get you a little bit unstuck from where you are today and where you want to be, and unlock what's holding you back. And you'll walk away with a tangible action step on how you can begin to immediately implement maybe one of these areas that we talked about or something else into your life. And of course, we'd love to see you in our Vitality Reboot, which is starting in just a few days.
Have a great day, everyone. Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.